Hi, this is Barbie and welcome to my channel. Today's video is a coast-to-coast collaboration. Several of us close to my heart consultants are using the Story by Stacy card deck each month for our inspiration. So we have 4 different ones. We have friendship, definition, stamps, and repurposing. I'm going to cover friendships first. Now, friendships can be many different things. It can be your besties. It can be a group of people, maybe roommates from college or from a summer camp. It can be childhood friends. You can tell how you met, maybe talk about inside jokes. For me, this is my friend Sue and 2 of her sisters. These ladies, because I have no siblings, have adopted me as their little sister. So to cover definition, I've printed out the definition of a sister as well as a poem. And I've pulled out these stamps. These are the ones I think I'm going to use. I know for sure I want to use that cowboy boot. But neither of these flowers seem to quite go with the theme and with the backdrop that we had our pictures taken in front of. I've pulled out the Pixie cardstock, which is a retired color, and the sweet leaf cardstock, as well as a pattern paper of sweet leaf. And I've printed both the definition and the poem on the Pixie as well as white. And I'm going to play with those pieces there and decide, do I want the green next to the picture or the pink? And you'll notice that I printed my picture with an 1/8 inch white border to help make it pop. I only have 1 sheet of that wood grain paper, which is from our current April through June catalog. It's one of the mixed in papers. So I want to decide how I'm going to use it because I need to make it last for both the left and the right layout. I'm currently working on the left layout, and I decided to go ahead and cut it so that I have a 1/2 inch strip and a 5 1/2 inch strip, and I'll set that 6 1/2 by 12 aside for the right hand layout. And I decided after doing some work off camera that I want to do the 1/2 inch strip on the left side. I had gone back and forth between the right and left, unsure which way I wanted to do it, and finally decided to commit to the left-hand side. It's always good to take your papers and play with placement before you start cutting. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that one down, and then I'll go ahead and adhere the other piece of wood grain to the right hand side of the layout. You'll notice that I'm using a liquid glue. This gives me a little bit more time to move it around if I need to than a tape adhesive would. And so that works out really well because when moving that pink piece out of the way, I didn't quite get the paper where I wanted it. So I have to pull it up and reposition it. So I use a variety of adhesives. I use a tape adhesive, I use a removable, and I use liquid. Just depends on what I'm doing and which one I'm going to use. So we're just going to get the base of this page done, and then we can start playing. Now with that sweet leaf pattern, again on this one, I only had 1 piece, but it wasn't a full 12-inch piece. It was like 6 by 11 1/4. And 1 piece of it actually was 2 6 by 11 1/4, and one of them has a notched out piece that you'll see when I do the right hand layout and how I work around that. So now let's decide where we're to put the photo. I did quite a bit of playing off camera with this because I don't want to cover up all those words. I want a good amount of them showing because I think that's really important. There's some really good words on there, including memories and love and inspire. And I know that a lot of it's going to get covered up, but I don't want to cover up too much. So I'll play with where I'm going to place it. And I couldn't get it worked out to have it mostly on the wood grain with the way I wanted to do it. So more of the words are going to get covered up than I wanted, but that's okay. I go back and forth between the white and the pink for the definition and decide I'm going to go with the pink for the definition. And then I decide to go with the white actually for the poem. And you'll notice that the poem does not take up that full piece, but because of the way I'm layering things, I wanted to have the full white going down the same distance as the picture. I have these grunge cardboard letters that I have inked up using some retired colors, saddle and cashmere. And I'm just kind of laying them where I think I'm going to want them while I go ahead and go with what I know first. I know approximately where I want that photo, so I'm going to put it down first. If you start with what you know for sure and do it first, then the rest will come easy. And besides that, the things that aren't as important are easier to change about. So start with the most important thing, your main focus, or the thing that you know where you want it. You'll notice I teared one edge of the poem just to give a little bit more texture, since there's texture in that wood grain and texture in the words. I just wanted to help carry that through. Now I decided, instead of using the stamped flowers, to use these paper flowers that I had in my stash. And to cover the repurposing, I'm using buttons, and I'm also going to use some brown embroidery floss to tie through those buttonholes. I'm also using, for those stems, I used our die cut set. What was it? Drawing a blank. It's flowers. It's a die cut set. It's absolutely adorable, but for some reason the name of it is just slipped my mind. So I'm just deciding where I'm going to put those images. For stamped, I've covered that with those cowboy boots. I cut them out with the die cut in the saddle cardstock and then stamped them in cocoa, another retired color from my stash, just to give a little more definition. And I'm going to play with that stem there just to make sure that it doesn't cover up any of my wording. And now I'll go ahead and put those grunge letters down now that I got everything else in place. And like I was saying earlier, so this was a country lady tea. It was held in a barn, and so we're dressed in Western gear. And I decided to go with the pink and the green to tie in the colors of that backdrop we're standing in front of, because all of our clothes were different colors, and so I couldn't just really choose a color that went with our clothes. So when that happens, just go with something that is in your picture. And all of the pictures had this backdrop. So going with the pink and the green went perfect for that. So I'm just getting these letters in place, and then we can get on with things. I'm wondering, have you ever used grunge letters or paper flowers? They're a lot of fun. And I don't know about you, but I love layering. I love texture. And so I like to use different elements and make clusters. And then you'll notice that by the positioning of my white flowers, that if you drew a line from each of the white flowers to the next one and back and around, it forms a triangle. And that helps your eye flow over the page. The same thing with my 3 leaf stems. They form a triangle if you draw a line from one to another. So that is a good tip to do. So on this layout, I have basically 2 clusters, though you could count it as 3. You could say that across the bottom I have 2. And that works out really well to have that. And I will coordinate where these are positioned with the clusters on the right-hand layout. So I'm just getting everything glued down. I really like the way this turned out with having that definition in the pink. It brings just a little more focus to it, since that was one of the cards that we drew. So, if you would like to do this, we would love to have you make a project using these 4 cards. And then when you post your project to social media, please add in the hashtag C2CMay23 to stand for Coast to Coast May, and then 23 for 2023. If you are a current Close to My Heart consultant, we would love to have you join our collaboration. So you can see now that I'm showing you how I've used all of these, and then I'll go on to the right-hand page. Now, as I said before, it was put together the same way, but you can see that my 6 by 11¼ inch piece has a piece cut out of it from whatever, because this was in my stash. So I will make sure that I position my photos to cover that up so nobody will know. This was just an opportunity. That's what happens when you have things like this that you want to use, or somehow you've made a mistake. It's not a mistake. It is an opportunity to expand your creativity. So I'm playing with photo mats, and I decide I don't want to go ahead and do the pink photo mats. It takes up too much space, and I already have that white mat around the photo, so that will be fine. I also have my journaling about the event printed out on white paper, and I'm just going to cut that down and tear the edge so it matches the poem. And I'll play with whether I want that at the top or at the bottom as time goes on. And you can see I have all my flowers with the buttons and the embroidery floss. And again, I'm going to start with what I know. I know that top photo needs to cover up that area that doesn't have the green. Now, yes, I would have loved to have it down farther so that there was some green above it, but this was an opportunity to change up my way of thinking. And so I'm just positioning these photos so there's about the same amount of distance from the left-hand side of that top photo to the right-hand side of the middle photo, and try to use that same distance between the top and bottom of the middle and bottom photo. And so I move that journaling to the bottom to see if I like that better. But I end up going back to my first instinct of having it on the top. And the reason I do this is because I end up bringing in the left-hand page and see that I don't really like that cluster up there. So I go ahead and move it down. Besides that, first instincts are usually the best one, right? So I go ahead and position that up there, and I'll do one flower, and I'll have 3 clusters. So if you count that the left-hand layout has 2 clusters and the right-hand layout has 3, that's a total of 5 clusters. This is perfect because if you can stick to an odd number, it helps the eye flow. And you'll notice that the clusters on the right-hand page form a triangle, as do the white flowers and the leaf stems. Remember to keep that triangle shape. As you're out shopping, look at clothes, cups, dishes. You'll see a lot of triangles of either shapes or colors or in design. I didn't realize how much it was out there until I started looking and noticing. So I'm just going to get these stems from these die cut set and get everything positioned. Let me see if I happen to have that die cut here so I could tell you what it was. Layered flowers. That's what it is. The die cut set is Layered Flowers Z4324. And there are like 20 die cuts in this set. Several different leaves and several different flowers, and I have had so much fun with these. So here's the 2 layouts, the right and the left side by side, as well as the individual of each one. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did creating it. And here are some ways that you can see what I have done. If you liked this video, and I sure hope you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and have a very blessed day.